I was sorting my mail the same way any man my age does, slowly, suspiciously, and with the kind of sigh that makes the neighbors think I'm rehearsing for my own memorial service. Bills, ads. More bills? The usual parade of envelopes that only remind you how expensive breathing has become these days. But then I saw it a small, white envelope with no return address. Thin. Personal. The kind of envelope people don't send anymore unless it's something they don't want traced. And when I looked at the handwriting, my knees actually clicked. Not bent clicked. Because I knew that handwriting. I had stared at it on birthday cards, school notes, and the last scrap of paper she ever left on my kitchen table. It was my daughter Emily's handwriting, Emily, who disappeared 13 years ago. For a moment, I just stood there in my living room, holding that envelope like it was a live wire. My dog Baxter looked at me like, "Well, open it, old man, before you drop dead on my rug." Even he knew something was off. Before I go further, subscribe, hit the like button, and tell me in the comments how old you are and where you're from. For you, it's just a small thing, but for me, it's the reason I keep telling these stories. I sat down, took a deep breath, and opened the letter. Only 4 short lines were inside. The first 3 made my heart ache with hope, but the last line, that one froze my chest solid. And that was the moment I realized someone else might be involved, someone Emily was afraid of. At least, that's what I believed, until I read it again under the lamp and noticed something I hadn't seen the first time. I kept staring at that last line as if it might rearrange itself into something less terrifying. It didn't. My living room suddenly felt colder, like someone had opened a window I didn't know existed. Baxter crawled under the coffee table, which is his way of saying, "You're on your own with this one, buddy." The letter said Emily missed me, that she was sorry, that she hoped I'd forgive her someday. But the final line? "Dad, if someone else finds this before you do, I'm gone again." Gone. Again. That word again hit me like a shovel to the chest. Not leaving, not running, but gone. As if disappearing was now some sort of routine event on her calendar. I folded the letter and unfolded it 3 times, hoping it would magically come with instructions. Because I'm not ashamed to admit I'm terrible with mysteries. I'm the guy who once lost his reading glasses while wearing them, and my neighbor Ron still brings it up every time he sees me. Speaking of Ron, that man has the subtlety of a marching band. He barged into my yard right at that moment, yelling over the fence, "Henry, you alive? You've been quiet for 10 minutes. That's suspicious at your age." I told him I was fine, but he squinted at me like I'd just tried to sell him a haunted lawnmower. He said, "If your face looked any paler, I'd have to borrow my wife's makeup for you." I waved him off, but inside, my mind was racing. Why now? Why a letter? Why not a call? An email? Anything from this century? Then I noticed it, the tiny crease in the paper. Not from folding, from being handled. Maybe hurriedly, maybe by someone with shaky hands. My daughter's hands never shook. Someone else touched this letter before it reached me. And the moment that thought settled in, I realized the doorbell had been ringing for the past 30 seconds loud, insistent, like someone wanted to break it with their finger. And when I opened the door, the person standing there made my stomach drop even lower than the letter had. Standing on my porch was a young man, maybe mid-20s, tall, nervous, and sweating like he'd just jogged through a hurricane. His shirt was tucked in, but only in the front, the way teenagers do when they want to look formal, but also cool. It didn't work. He looked like someone who'd lost a fight with a laundry basket. He blurted out, "Mr. Thompson? Sir? Please don't close the door. I need to talk to you." Which immediately made me want to close the door. Baxter stood behind my leg, growling his tiny growl, the one that sounds like a broken toy with an attitude problem. So of course the guy stepped back like I owned a guard lion. "I'm Jason," he said, swallowing loudly. "I knew Emily." Knew. Past tense. My stomach tightened. I invited him inside. Though I kept one hand near the umbrella stand, not for self-defense, just because that umbrella is heavy enough to knock out a moose, and I liked the feeling of security. Jason stood in the living room like every piece of furniture was judging him. "Sir, I'm sorry to come without calling, but I didn't know if the letter reached you." I froze. "The letter, you delivered it?" I asked. He nodded. twisting his fingers. Not exactly. Emily gave it to me 13 years ago. 13 years? I stared at him like he'd just told me he time-traveled using my mailbox. He rushed on. I was 15 then. She told me to keep it until the day she said I could deliver it. That day was yesterday. He looked terrified, but also guilty, like a man carrying a secret far too heavy for him. My voice cracked. I hadn't heard it do that in decades. Why now, Jason? Why, after all this time? He opened his backpack, pulled out an old phone, a tiny flip phone that looked like it survived the Cold War, and handed it to me. Because yesterday morning, he whispered, this phone turned on by itself, and there was a new voicemail from Emily. My heart slammed against my ribs. And sir, his voice dropped even lower. Someone else's voice is in the background. Someone she was arguing with. I didn't breathe. Listen to it, Jason said. Please. I think she's in trouble again. And just as he said that, the old phone lit up in my hand and started ringing. I nearly dropped the phone. This little plastic fossil hadn't seen a signal since people still said "lol" out loud, and now it was ringing in my living room like it had been waiting 13 years just to ruin my blood pressure. Jason's eyes went wide. Sir, it's never rung before. Ever. Baxter barked once, the kind of bark that means, I'm scared, but I'm also pretending I'm not. With hands that suddenly felt 20 years older, I flipped the phone open. The screen didn't show a number, just the word, unknown. Of course. Because why would anything about this day be normal? Hello? I said. For a moment, there was only static, that crackly, whispering kind, that makes you feel like someone's breathing into your ear. Then, faintly, a voice. Dad? My whole body locked up. It was Emily. Older, tired, but unmistakably her. Emily. Emily, sweetheart, where are you? I shouted, pacing like the world's most panicked mall cop. Jason hovered beside me like a guilty lamppost. Is it her? Is it really? I waved him quiet. Then another sound came through the phone, a man's voice, sharp, angry, too close. Emily, give me that. The call cut off. I swear my heart stopped long enough that Baxter nudged my ankle, as if checking whether he needed to fetch the neighbor. Jason's voice shook. Sir, that wasn't on the voicemail. That was live. I grabbed my coat so fast I nearly put my arm through the wrong hole. We're going. Where? Jason squeaked, already regretting whatever life choices led him to my porch. To find my daughter, I said. And if that man thinks he can raise his voice at her again. I didn't finish. Mostly because I tripped over Baxter's chew toy and almost launched myself into the coffee table. Jason rushed to help me up, babbling something about, careful, sir, and maybe we should call someone, but I was already heading to the door. I have one clue, I said. One. I held up the letter. Emily wrote it on special paper from Morrison's bookstore. She used to buy notebooks there. People like her don't change their favorite places. Jason blinked. Bookstores still exist. I ignored him. I opened the door and froze. Because across the street, sitting inside an old, faded sedan, was a man watching my house. And the moment he saw me notice him, he started the engine. The engine roared. The car jerked forward. And I swear the man inside looked straight at me, not past me, not through me, at me with this cold, flat stare that made every hair on my arm salute. Jason panicked instantly. Sir, should we run, hide, pretend we're not home? We're standing on the porch, Jason. Bit late for that, I muttered, grabbing his sleeve and dragging him toward my old Buick. The sedan pulled away from the curb, rolling down the street slow enough to be insulting, like the driver wanted me to know. He wasn't scared of a 70-year-old man with a bad knee and a dog the size of a loaf of bread. Jason jumped into the passenger seat of my Buick and slammed the door so fast he nearly caught his hoodie in it. Sir, please tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing. I'm exactly doing what you think I'm doing, I said, starting the engine. But sir, your car has... It still drives. It has 3 warning lights on. Exactly. That's 3 times the motivation. Jason groaned into his hands. We pulled out of the driveway just in time to see the sedan turn the corner. I pressed the gas harder than my doctor would approve of, and the Buick jolted like it had woken from a nap it didn't consent to. Jason looked back through the rear window. He's speeding up! So am I. You're going 30. That's fast for residential streets, Jason! He whimpered but stayed quiet. As we turned onto the main road, I spotted the sedan ahead, weaving through traffic. Its brake lights flickering like the driver kept checking whether we were still behind him. He's watching us, Jason whispered. Good, I said. Means he's nervous. Truth was, I was nervous too. Terrified, actually. But fear disappears when your child might be in danger 13 years or not. The sedan made a sudden right turn into a shopping district. I followed, trying to keep enough distance not to spook him while also hoping the Buick wouldn't overheat and explode like a cheap firework. Jason pointed. He turned into the parking lot. I swung in after him, but the sedan was gone. Vanished. Not a trace. Jason spun around. Where did he go? I didn't answer, because I saw something else, something that didn't make sense. Across the parking lot stood Morrison's bookstore, the very place I mentioned minutes earlier, and taped to its front door was an envelope, my name written on it. And when I grabbed it and opened it right there in the parking lot, the message inside made Jason turn white as chalk. I unfolded the note, expecting Emily's handwriting again shaky, rushed, scared. But no, this wasn't hers. The letters were big, blocky, forced. The kind of handwriting you get when someone grips a pen the way a crocodile would. Jason read over my shoulder, his voice cracking like he'd swallowed a kazoo. Sir, that's not Emily. I nodded. My stomach twisted. The message said, Stop looking. You're already too late. No signature, no threats, just that simple and cruel. Jason took a step back like the paper might bite him. Sir, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Maybe we should call the police, or the FBI, or one of those true crime ladies online who solve everything by lunchtime. I ignored him not because he was wrong, but because something else caught my eye. Behind the note, taped to the door, was a tiny piece of blue fabric, Emily's favorite color, a ribbon. She used to tie them around her notebooks, her bags, even her hair when she was stressed. I'd bought her packs of them every Christmas. My fingers shook as I removed it. This is hers. Jason leaned closer. But why leave this? Why leave anything? I stared at the ribbon, memories hitting me like a truck with sentimental headlights. Because she wants us to follow, I said quietly. This isn't a warning. It's a trail. Jason gulped. A trail that a dangerous guy also knows about. Good, I said. Means we're annoying him already. As I tucked the ribbon into my jacket pocket, someone cleared their throat behind us. Jason jumped so high I thought he'd leave orbit. It was the bookstore owner, Mrs. Randall, short, sharp, and permanently irritated, like she'd been born annoyed and just built momentum. Her eyes narrowed at us. If you two are done blocking my entrance like lost furniture, I've got something for you. I blinked. For me? She nodded, grumbling as she unlocked the door. A young woman left a package earlier today, said an older man with kind eyes would come looking. She looked me up and down skeptically. I suppose that's you, Jason whispered. Does she not see your face? Kind eyes? Really? I elbowed him. Inside, Mrs. Randall reached under the counter and pulled out a small cardboard box. No markings, no tape, except one strip across the top. My name written again, but this time in Emily's handwriting. I felt myself freeze for the second time that day. Jason swallowed. Sir, are you going to open it? I took a breath, steadying the tremble in my hands. Yes. I lifted the lid. Inside was a single object. Simple, ordinary, heartbreaking. Emily's old house key. And under it, a scribbled message on a torn receipt. Dad, if you come here, don't come alone, Jason whispered. She's scared. Really scared. No, I said, staring at the key. She's hiding something bigger than fear. And the only place that key fit was the home she abandoned 13 years ago. Emily's old house sat on the edge of town, a small blue place with peeling paint and a porch that always creaked like it had gossip to tell. I hadn't been there in over a decade. I'd avoided it the way people avoid old wounds, You walk past quickly and pretend they don't sting. But as Jason and I pulled up, something felt wrong immediately. No lights, curtains drawn, mailbox stuffed, but not with junk. With paper scraps, torn edges, pieces of envelopes, Jason whispered. Sir, this place looks like the opening scene of a crime show I wouldn't watch alone. I told him to stay close. He stayed so close he nearly stepped on my heel 3 times. I slid Emily's key into the lock. The metal was cold, heavier than I remembered. The door resisted at first, then opened with a groan that made Jason jump. Inside, the air felt frozen. Dust on the shelves. A cup still sitting on the kitchen counter, one she used every morning for cocoa. I'd bought it for her on a trip to Boston. The handle was shaped like a whale's tail. She used to joke it looked like the whale was waving goodbye. Now it just looks sad. Jason whispered, Sir, someone's been here recently. Look. He pointed at the floor, faint footprints in the dust. Not mine. Not his. Too large for Emily. Someone had walked through this house, and not carefully. We followed the prints through the living room, past the bookshelf, Emily always overstuffed, down the hallway. Jason clutched his backpack like it could save his life. I clutched my nerves. At the end of the hall was her old bedroom. I pushed the door open and froze. The room was exactly as she'd left it. Posters, old guitar, dresser, everything except for one thing. The mirror on the wall had writing scratched into it with something sharp. Not ink, not marker. Scratched. Don't trust him. Jason's voice cracked. Him? Who's him? Am I him? I swear I'm not him. Tell me I'm not him. I shushed him, scanning the room. The message was fresh. The edges around the letters still showed tiny shards of glass dust. Emily had been here recently. That's when Jason noticed the corner of a photo sticking out from under the pillow. He picked it up carefully and handed it to me. It was a picture of Emily maybe taken a year ago, standing next to a man with dark eyes and a forced smile. On the back, in her handwriting, If you see him before I do, run. Jason gulped so loudly I heard it echo. Sir, I think I know who him is. I turned to him sharply. You do? He nodded nervously. Because he's standing outside. I hurried to the bedroom window, pulled the curtain aside, and my stomach dropped. The same sedan from earlier. The same man. Standing on the sidewalk, watching the house. No expression, no hesitation. Just waiting. And then he lifted his phone and pointed it directly at the window. At me! And that's when the front door of the house suddenly slammed shut from the inside. The slam echoed through the house so loud even Jason's backpack flinched. He spun around, eyes wide. Sir, please tell me that was the wind. A strong wind. A hurricane-level wind. In November? In a closed hallway? I muttered. We crept back toward the living room, my heart pounding hard enough to push dust off the walls. Jason stuck so close behind me that when I stopped, he bumped into my back and whispered, Sorry, my survival instinct is broken. The living room was dim, just the faint evening light slipping through the blinds. Everything looked the same as before, except one thing. The front door was now locked from the inside. Jason whispered, We're trapped. Before I could answer, a floorboard creaked behind us. We froze. Another creak, slow, deliberate. Someone else was here. Someone who'd been hiding in the house the whole time. Jason leaned in so close he was breathing directly into my ear. Sir, if we die here, I just want to say you're the bravest old man I've ever illegally followed a stranger for. I whispered back. Jason, focus. We need something we can use. He looked around wildly. What about that lamp? Or the, decorative bowl with fruit glued to it? Why would anyone glue fruit? Shh! Another slow step. Then a voice. Quiet. Trembling. Dad? I spun around so fast my knee cracked like popcorn. Standing in the hallway, half hidden by shadow, was Emily. Older, tired, different, but undeniably my daughter. I didn't know whether to run to her or collapse. Emily, I whispered. Sweetheart, you're alive? She nodded, tears gathering in her eyes. I didn't know if you'd find the letters or the key. I I didn't know if he'd find you first. Jason spoke up, far too loudly for the moment. He is here. Well, maybe here. Definitely outside. Maybe inside. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm panicking. Emily startled at the sight of him. Jason? You brought him? He brought me, Jason corrected. I stepped toward her, and for a moment, a single, fragile moment, she looked like the girl who used to sit on the porch steps and tease me about my terrible singing. Then her face changed. Fear. Pure fear. Dad, she whispered. You need to leave. He's been following me for months. He thinks I took something from him. Did you? I asked. She swallowed hard. I took myself. Before I could say anything else, headlights swept across the front windows. The sedan. He was back. Emily grabbed my arm. Dad, listen to me if he gets inside. None of us are getting out. Jason whimpered something that sounded like a prayer and an apology mixed together. I reached for Emily's hand. We're leaving. Through the back. But she shook her head. No, he already checked the back. My blood ran cold. How do you know? She looked at me, eyes wide. Terrified. Certain. Because he's not working alone. Jason croaked. Sir? Does she mean... I didn't have to guess. Because just then footsteps echoed upstairs. Heavy. Confident. Moving toward us. Someone else was inside the house. And coming down the stairs. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, the kind that don't hurry because they don't fear anything. Jason grabbed my sleeve so hard he stretched it 3 inches. Sir, I regret every life choice that led me to this hallway. Emily stepped in front of us with a kind of trembling courage I'd never seen in her before. Dad, don't move. The steps reached the middle of the staircase. A shadow shifted on the wall. Then the man appeared. Tall, broad, shouldered, dark jacket, calm expression, too calm, the kind that only people with very bad intentions seem to master. He walked down as if he were coming to a dinner invitation, not a confrontation. Emily, he said, voice smooth and steady, you weren't supposed to bring anyone here. I stepped in front of her. She didn't bring me. I brought myself. He stared at me like I was a mildly interesting piece of furniture. Then his eyes slid to Jason. Who's the kid? Jason lifted a shaking hand. Emotional support? Emotional disaster support? Emily's voice cracked. Don't touch them! You said you'd let my family go. He smiled, a thin, cold smile. I said I'd let them leave, not go. I hated him instantly. I've never been a violent man. My most aggressive act in life was arguing with a cashier about expired yogurt, but in that moment, every cell in my old bones wanted to throw this man out a window. Instead, I took a steady breath, because old men know one universal truth. Anger is a tool, not a steering wheel. What do you want with my daughter? I demanded. He tilted his head slightly. Something she owes me. Emily choked out. I owe you nothing. Oh, you owe me everything, he said. I kept you safe for years, fed you, hid you, protected you from the people who were actually hunting you. I blinked. Hunting her? What are you talking about? Emily shook her head. Dad, he's lying. Am I? He said quietly. Tell him what you stole, Emily. She froze. And for the first time, fear wasn't the only emotion on her face. Guilt flickered there too. I looked at her. Sweetheart, what did you take? Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth and the man lunged forward. Jason screamed so loudly I think a bird outside fell off a tree. I pushed Emily behind me, ready to defend her with my bare hands if I had to. The man reached the bottom step fast. Too fast for someone his size, when suddenly, bang! The front window shattered inward, glass everywhere. Emily screamed. Jason dived behind a chair and instantly regretted it. It collapsed under him. The man spun toward the broken window, furious. A flashlight beam cut through the room. Police! A voice shouted. Nobody move! 2 officers in dark jackets climbed through the shattered window like it was just another Tuesday activity. The man on the stairs stiffened, not scared, but angry. Very angry. One officer yelled, Hands up where we can see them! For a split second, everything held still. Then the man whispered, almost calmly, This isn't over. And before anyone could react, he bolted up the stairs. Fast. Too fast. The officers sprinted after him. One yelled into his radio, "Suspect fleeing upstairs! Seal the perimeter!" Emily collapsed into my arms, shaking violently. Jason crawled out from under the broken chair, covered in dust, muttering, "I think I saw my life flash twice." I held Emily tighter, feeling her heartbeat hammer against me. "It's okay," I whispered. "It's okay now. We've got help." She shook her head desperately. "No, Dad, you don't understand." She looked at me with eyes full of fear and a truth she'd been running from for 13 years. "He's not the real danger." I swallowed. "Then who is?" Her answer came out in a whisper that chilled me more than any threat that night. "The person coming after me is someone you know." And before I could ask who, we heard another set of footsteps outside the broken window. Steady, familiar, walking toward the house. The footsteps outside were slow, steady, and painfully familiar, the kind of rhythm you recognize not with your ears, but with your bones. Emily's grip on my sleeve tightened. Jason peeked over the broken chair like a terrified meerkat. Then the figure stepped through the shattered window frame, and I felt my heart drop. "Ron?" I whispered. "My neighbor. My loud, nosy, yard-obsessed neighbor. The man who once argued with me for 45 minutes about who owned a rake, we both found in the gutter." He stood there in his orange reflective jacket, holding a flashlight and looking more confused than dangerous. "Henry," he said, "what in the name of lawn fertilizer is going on in here? Police cars are outside, your window's missing, and your dog is barking at a mailbox like it owes him money." Emily almost fainted. Jason let out a dramatic sigh and collapsed onto the remaining half of the chair. I blinked at Ron. "You're not the danger." "Danger? Me?" Ron scoffed. "Buddy, the only danger I create is when I'm left alone with a weed trimmer." One of the officers sidestepped around him, whispering into her radio that the wrong suspect had entered the premises. Emily burst into trembling laughter, that half-hysterical, half-relieved laugh people make when their soul finally unclenches. "Dad," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry. I thought the person following me was someone from my old life. Someone you'd know." Ron blinked. "Following you? Kid, the only thing I followed today was a grocery list." It took another 10 minutes for the police to sweep the house, clear the upstairs, and confirm that the real suspect, the man who'd been hunting Emily, had escaped through a rear window. He was gone, but he was identified, and the officers assured us they'd find him. Emily sat beside me on the couch, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. Ron insisted on brewing, because trauma tastes better with chamomile. She finally told me everything. How she left 13 years ago because she fell in with the wrong people. How she tried to break free from a man who controlled her life. How she spent years hiding, rebuilding, waiting for a safe moment to reach me again. "But when I sent that letter," she said softly, "someone else saw it, and he wanted to get to you first." I swallowed the ache in my throat. "Sweetheart, you could have come to me." She nodded, tears glistening. "I know. That's why I'm here now." Jason, still dusted like a powdered donut, cleared his throat. "Sir, I'm really glad you're both safe. And not, kidnapped," Ron added proudly. "And I'm glad I wasn't the villain. My wife would have killed me." We all laughed, tired, messy, relieved laughter. The police escorted us out to take statements and get Emily into protection. She held my arm the entire time, and as we walked out of that house, the old house she once ran from, she whispered, "I'm done disappearing, Dad. I'm staying. I'm home." I squeezed her hand. "Good. Because I'm too old to chase anybody else across town." Jason nodded vigorously. "And I'm too young to die dramatically." Even Ron chimed in. "And I'm too busy this weekend. I gotta mulch." We all laughed again. For the first time in 13 years, my family felt whole. Life rarely gives you perfect returns. Sometimes the people you love disappear, change, fall, or lose themselves entirely. But if they reach back, even with a single letter, hold out your hand. Because the chance to bring family home is worth more than any fear, any anger, any lost years. And sometimes, Through all the danger and chaos, the biggest threat really is just your nosy neighbor in a reflective vest.